Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., Susan arrived from Kanab. She comes and helps me at the office on Tuesdays. And we had a very busy day that day.
Our clients left at noon, and Diane was helping me with a quilt project, so we thought during our lunch hour we would work on this little quilt project we had.
And all of a sudden I looked at the clock and said, Susan, it's 20 to 1. We've got to go. We've got a 1 o'clock appointment. We've got to get something quick and get something to eat.
So we went to Arby's. It's at a Chevron station in Panguitch. It was very bitter cold that day, and the wind was just blowing terribly. As we drove into the Chevron station to park, I noticed that the doors of the Chevron station blew open and crashed by the window.
And she jumped out and ran towards the door, because that's how Susan is. Susan's always worrying about other people, and it hadn't even crossed my mind that I should go shut the Chevron door.
And as I got to the door, there was this gentleman lying on the floor inside the Chevron station. So I knelt down, and they said they'd already called 911. I felt for a pulse. There was not one. So I just immediately ripped open his shirt and started CPR. By then Diane was in, and she went to the head of this gentleman and tilted his neck so that he would have an airway. And Diane said, you know, who is this? Because Panguitch is a small town and everyone knows everyone. And we realized that it was Dick Miller.
All of a sudden I've got a personal interest in this too, because I know the gentleman, and I'm grabbing his head, I'm yelling at him, stay with us, stay with us.
It seemed like a long time before the EMTs arrived, but I know it wasn't. It was just a few minutes. And as the EMTs arrived, I was able to, of course, let the EMTs take over.
Just before they ran in with the EMTs, his eyes came back. We saw some life come back into his face.
They did have to shock his heart twice. They ended up getting him into the ambulance into the Panguitch Hospital. They stabilized him at the Panguitch Hospital and life-flighted him to Salt Lake.
Her biggest concern was, what if he dies? What if he dies? What if I didn't save him? What if he dies? And I just kept saying, Susan, it's in the Lord's hands. You gave him a second chance.
They called and they told me that it was because of his initial CPR is what that saved his life, which I was so very grateful for. When he got home a few days later, he calls me while I was at my home in Kanab, and he says, Susan, I want you to know that everyone in Panguitch is mad at you. They could have been having funeral potatoes today. I've been a nurse for 43 years, and this is the first time I've done CPR. So I was very grateful for the outcome.